you're here. You were asking how I knew the young woman you met by the river was wearing a hood. Here, look down at the bottom of the baths. It's a little hard to make out in this light. If only we could see. Oh, what a marvelous lamp. But do you see it? Somebody waking up by a river in a forest to find a hooded figure with a coin. It's just as you described it, only your pronunciation is a little off. The name you heard wasn't Charon. It was C-H-A-R-O-N, as in Charon, the ferryman of the dead. Charon, who, in exchange for the right coin, helps the souls of the newly deceased cross the Styx, the river that separates the land of the living from the land of the dead.
When I dragged you out of the river, I thought you were never gonna wake up. I checked your pockets for ID, but all I found was some loose change. Feels like I've spent my whole life in a dead-end job with an endless commute. Sorry if I sounded cagey, it's just that I don't always get the best reactions when I introduce myself. My name's Karen.
There are a bunch of old stories about the gods punishing people by making them do the same futile task over and over. But on the bright side, at least you're not stuck in the underworld like they all were.
I'm so sorry, my friend. I'm so sorry. I take it you know what this means. I'm afraid so. It's all starting to make sense. All these people whose last memory was running from the fires toward the river. It seems none of them escaped with their lives after all. Perhaps we should be grateful they don't remember their final moments. It also tells us that the Golden Rule is the work of Pluto, the god of the underworld, and why his epithet has always been Father of Riches. I know it's a lot to take in, and you look as if you have questions, so I'll try to answer them if I can. That was my first thought too. In the old stories, the underworld was where the souls of the deceased were taken. But it was also possible for the living to reach it without dying, if they were particularly fearless. So I'm afraid I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting you're not from here. If you were Roman, or even Greek, you would know these stories. Each of them is slightly different, whether the storyteller was Plato, Homer, Virgil, or Ovid. But they always involved the souls of the dead meeting a grim ferryman named Charon on the bank of a river. It was said that he'd help the new arrival cross, only if they could pay him with a coin, an obol. That's why it was once our custom to bury our loved ones with a coin in their mouths. Charon's obol, we called it. Of course, an obol was a kind of Greek coin, because we inherited this knowledge from the Greeks. To be fair, the ferryman isn't exactly as the poets described, and he, she, they seem to appear to different people in different guises. You say you saw a young woman named Karen with a hood, and I once heard Kabash mention a stranger in a ram headdress named Kerti, and Rufius described meeting a stranger named Kamut Tabal wearing an eagle headdress. But whatever form this stranger took, they were always wearing a hood of some sort, and their name always began with a K sound. I suspect the only way you'll solve this riddle is if your paths cross again. Good question. Let's see. In the stories, Charon would always require a coin as payment for passage across the river, but that never made any sense to me. What does an ancient immortal being need with coins? In our case, it seems Charon didn't take the coins we had. He or she merely checked we had one in our possession. So, maybe there's something special about the coins each of us had on us, and that might explain why we wound up here, but so many others did not. No. I mean, I had my suspicions, especially after Livia's ramblings, but I would never have figured it out without your help, I promise you. Now that we know where we are, we have to figure out what to do about it, if we don't want to be cast into gold for eternity. We don't have much to go on, except the old stories. I remember 4 in particular about heroes in the underworld. Hercules, the demigod and son of Jupiter. Orpheus, a Thracian poet. Sisyphus, a king of Ephyra. And Aeneas, a Trojan hero. Hercules was able to leave the underworld because he cowed its god with his strength. Sisyphus and Orpheus both relied on their wits instead. They persuaded the goddess of the underworld, Proserpina, to help them escape. And finally, Aeneas was able to escape with the help of a spirit guide, who led him through a secret gate. So it seems you have 2 options: to confront the god of the underworld head-on, or find a way to escape with the help of Proserpina or some other guide. All Romans try to avoid saying it, and the reason is quite simple. He might hear us. You may refer to him as Pluto, if you wish, but you'll only be calling attention to yourself. Do so at your own peril. As I mentioned, both Orpheus and Sisyphus were said to have persuaded Proserpina to help them escape, and Aeneas was guided to the exit. The problem is, those are the stories of a poet, a self-aggrandizing king, and a brawler about their own heroic deeds, so they should be taken with a grain of salt. First, Proserpina. What we do know about her is, well, it's a grim tale. It's said the god of the underworld abducted and dragged her here against her will, forcing her into marriage. It is. The gods are a mirror image of mankind, as far as cruelty is concerned, I'm afraid. If the stories are true, I imagine she's as desperate to escape as we are. If she really did help Orpheus and Sisyphus, perhaps she'll help us too. The problem is, how do we communicate with her without being noticed by her captor? Leaving that aside for a moment, there is also the possibility of a spirit guide. I don't suppose you've come across one of those in your travels? Truly? And you're only bringing this up now? Then again, I suppose you were worried I'd think you were as mad as Naevia. Can you tell me more? Is it the same voice? What kinds of thing does it say? Fascinating. Perhaps she's a benevolent spirit. Or perhaps... Perhaps you're hearing the voice of Proserpina herself. If she has indeed been abducted, it would make sense for her to speak in cryptic whispers to avoid detection. Tell me, has she told you anything that might lead you to the way out? That is strange. There are no rivers here. Let me think on that. Well, as far as I can tell, water flows into the city from an aqueduct into one of 2 cisterns, the upper cistern. If that's the current she's talking about, then perhaps you need to get into the upper cistern somehow. I vaguely recall wondering what was in there, but the door at the back of the great temple is locked up tight. You might be able to get a key from the magistrate, but if that doesn't work, perhaps you can find another way in. Let me know if you find anything in there. Shh! Is everyone so blunt where you're from? Oh. That option would be the boldest, but also the only way to learn the truth about the Golden Rule, and maybe even put an end to it. As I said, Hercules managed to overpower the god of the underworld, but he was a demigod. Forgive my candor, but you are no Hercules. Are you telling me that you can? I won't pretend to understand exactly what that means, but if that's true, then perhaps you stand a chance. So, if you want to confront him, I'll help you as much as I can. Who knows? Perhaps your name will be uttered in the same sentence as Hercules one day. But first, you'd need an audience with you-know-who, and for that, you'll need to enter the great temple overlooking the city. The problem is, the door has been sealed shut for as long as I've lived here, and there doesn't even seem to be a keyhole. I suspect the answer lies in the desecrated obelisk in front of it. I'm not sure if you noticed, but there are 4 plaques missing from its base. It looks as though somebody, or a series of somebodies, forcibly removed them, and in doing so, dishonored and angered our divine keeper. If you could recover and replace all 4 of those missing plaques, I imagine he might be willing to receive an audience again. It's the towering stone monument with 4 sides and a pyramid-shaped head that stands before the great temple, a dedication to the god of this place. You'll find them all over Rome, but of course they were looted from Egypt many years ago. It seems one of them made its way here too, although how is a mystery. However, this one is unusual in that each of the 4 sides is decorated in a different style: Roman, Greek, Egyptian, and another I don't recognize. That means you'll need to recover 4 different plaques: Roman, Greek, Egyptian, and a 4th, a mystery plaque. I'm afraid you're on your own with that one, but perhaps the goddess will help guide you to it when the time is right. I don't know, but perhaps you should begin your search with the local Greek fellow, Georgius. His store is in the forum. Perhaps Kabash, our Egyptian resident, will be able to tell us. Unfortunately, he disappeared weeks ago. But I did hear Aurelia is peddling rumors about him at the tavern, so perhaps you could talk to her, or just take a look in his room. It's a reasonable question, but the problem is, this place is fairly well designed to keep us here. There's no way to climb up the shaft. And even if you could build a ladder big enough, just trying it would break the golden rule. We know that, thanks to the writings left behind by those who've tried. All right. I would suggest not discussing this with anyone. The best we can do for them is to let them remain oblivious for as long as possible. As for Livia, it seems she's been shouldering the weight of this terrible secret all this time. Perhaps it would comfort her to know she's not alone. In any case, time is of the essence, so you'd best begin. May Fortuna guide you, although you may not need her with Proserpina on your side. That's you have there, just like Diana's.
Just as the ocean accepts the rivers of all the world, so this place accepts all the souls. But it does not notice the crowds that come. Say it. Speak its name. Then it is true. I was right. I thought I saw it, but when the rest of them could not, I kept thinking I must have gone insane. I had to tell myself it was true over and over again, until I wasn't sure if I was deceiving myself. I must apologize if my words seemed cryptic. I'd found comfort in reciting the Metamorphoses by our great poet Ovid. He gives such an uncanny description of this place. I cannot help but wonder if he himself came here. Would you like to hear it? I will do my best to remember the relevant verse. There is a downward path, gloomy with fatal yew trees. It leads through dumb silence to the infernal regions. The sluggish Styx exhales vapor, and by that way, the shadows of the newly dead descend, entombed with full rites, and the ghosts of those, at last, given proper burial. The wide, thorny waste is cold and pallid, and the newly arrived shades are ignorant of the road that leads to the Stygian city, where Black Dis has his cruel palace. As the ocean accepts the rivers of all the world, so this place accepts all the souls, and is never too small for any populace, nor notices the crowds that come. There the bloodless shadows wander without flesh or bone. Some crowd the forum, some the house of the ruler of the depths. Others follow their trades, imitating their previous lives, and still others incur punishment. I hope I have done it justice, and now we share a secret. It's as if you've lifted a great burden from my shoulders. Thank you, friend. I think I should rest.
Greetings, I'm Georgius. It gladdens me to see another foreign... My friend, your words intrigue me more and more. But yes, very well, ask me what you will. And in a city full of Romans you are asking me? Because I am Greek. Let me tell you something about Greeks and Romans. My name is Georgios, yes. But the Romans, they do not care. They hear me say Georgios and they think, ah, he must mean Georgius. Good Roman name. They do this all the time. They see us worshipping Zeus, they copy us but call him Jupiter. They take Hades and call him Pluto, Persephone, Proserpina. I am flattered that they copy our ideas, but why must they change the names? Do they want credit for making it all up? Do they want to forget where it came from? At first, I pull my hair out. After a while, I give up, and I become Georgius the Roman. I accept the world is Roman now. Plus, I have no hair left to pull. But my point is this. If you want to know who stole an old Greek name, look no further than the sticky-fingered Romans. The plague you seek was pilfered from a collection of old Greek relics by none other than Dully. He cannot help it. Like a typical Roman, he likes shiny things, especially those that once belonged to my people. And besides, it makes him happy. So I say, let him keep it. I believe he still has it with him, in his cell, just opposite the Temple of Demeter. I hope that our paths cross again soon, my friend.
Hello? Hello? Have we met before? Do you like it? It's shiny, innit? It makes me happy just looking at it. But if I gave it to you, then I wouldn't have it anymore, and I'd be sad. But it's mine, and I really like it. I want to keep it. Well, if you get me out of here, then I wouldn't need it anymore because I'd already be happy. Then you could have it, and you'd be happy too. Galerius already tried that. Yeah, Bye bye.
Salve, friend. Mind telling me who you are and what you're doing with that bow on your back? Oh, you sound serious. Yulia. Poor Virgil. Poor Rufius too, I guess. Alright, got it. Alright, let me see. Stop Fabia going in, but send the new arrival to the empty shrine. Understood. What? Are you... You're serious, aren't you? I doubt Domitius will let me talk to him, but I'll make sure he passes on the message. I'll go, but once I'm done, I'll need you to tell me how you know all of this.
Oh, you're here. I'm so glad. And, you're not like... What was that? Some kind of joke? If it was, it wasn't funny. I take back what I said. Suddenly, I don't find you so intriguing anymore. Let's just forget that ever happened, so we can at least do business. So, what brings you to my tavern? Not for a few weeks now.
Sisyphus,
Last time I saw
attack
him,
or
he was
pursue
sitting
the
at a table
stone
with
that
Georgius,
always returns.
whispering about some job. I remember because they kept looking over their shoulders as if they didn't want anyone else to know. So, naturally, I hovered. The one word I kept hearing was vanishing, and then, the next day, Kabash just disappeared. Coincidence? I think not. All right, see ya.
Greetings. I'm Joe. My friend. I knew this day would come. I do not wish to lie to you, my friend, but even discussing this matter is dangerous. Please, let us leave the live coals safely beneath the ash. Very well, but the magistrate would not look kindly upon this, so please keep it to yourself. For several months now, I have been sneaking out at night to worship the gods of my ancestors in the temple of Demeter. Each day, I leave offerings of food in the hope that we may have a bountiful harvest, and yet the next day when I return, the food is missing. The offering, it is symbolic, you see. It is never eaten. So I ask, who or what is devouring the food in this temple? Stranger still. Once I sat in front of my shop like the 100-eyed Argus until dawn to see if I could spot a thief going in. But do you know what I saw? Nothing! Nobody entered. And yet when I went to take a look, my offering was gone. It is bizarre, is it not? When I told my friend Kabash of this at the tavern, he offered to help investigate. He went in, and to my dismay, he was never seen again. It is the only Greek temple in the city. Head towards the baths, and it is the last building on your right. I do not think you should pursue this, my friend. It would break my heart to be responsible for 2 people disappearing. But you do not strike me as a kind of person to be deterred by such warnings, so just be careful, I beg you.